Well, good evening and welcome back to Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. And this is my very last live in Arizona because we are going home to Wyoming. And you can see behind me lots and lots of apple trees. My house back in Wyoming we call Apple Cottage, and that is because we have a lot of apple trees. I mean, a lot, not a little bit, a lot of apple trees. And I'm bringing back 150 more that I grafted. You take the rootstock, the scion, you graft it together, and out of the 150, only 6 of them right now have not leafed out. And I'm guessing that probably those other ones will leaf out probably on our way back if they don't do it before we leave. And so it's going to be fun to get those all potted up when I get home, and some of them in the ground. BP. Hello, how are ya? Thanks for stopping by. And I always do a Monday Night Live, 5 o'clock Pacific time, because in Wyoming, I'm at Mountain Standard Time. And so next week when I am in Wyoming, it will be Mountain Standard Time, 6 o'clock when I start. Oh, Ange is here. Hey, Ange, how are ya? I hope you had a good day today. And we pulled up my giant pumpkins today because our garbage man comes tomorrow. And my giant pumpkins will get, if I would let them grow, if we were staying here longer, they would have got anywhere from 14 to 2,400 pounds. The parentage of them, one was 25 and one was 1,800 pounds. But, we pulled them up. They weighed between 40 and 50 pounds. And I just wanted to make sure if they had some viable seeds inside, And when you cut open a pumpkin or any kind of squash, if the seeds are very thin and they're not bulky, they're just immature. They're not ready. So we decided that since I wasn't saving the pumpkin itself, the vines we all put in the garden to biodegrade, but I didn't want to put those great big pumpkins in there where there'd be lots of flies and bugs, and the cats would probably get in there from the feral cats, and I just didn't want to do that. And so here is a picture of one of the pumpkins. So this is one of the bigger ones, and it looks big now, but it would have been really big if we would have let it keep growing. And so we sliced it up, and see how much airspace is in between there. So that's kind of interesting. And then any of the really bulky seeds I saved. Now on the right side was from that big pumpkin. The ones on the left side here are actually from one of my French pumpkins. And so it was fun to scoop it out and see how many seeds I got. But one of those big pumpkin seeds was actually growing in there. And so I planted that into some soil, and I'm taking it back home. So hopefully it'll probably sprout up before we even leave, because those go so fast when they start to grow. And Charmaine is here. Hello, young lady. How are ya? I was just talking about the pumpkins, because we pulled those up in the front. They're in the front of our house. And I pulled up the watermelon. It was about 8 inches long, but it wasn't ripe at all inside. All the flesh where it would be red was still really light colored, and none of the seeds had turned to black. And so, but it was fun to grow it. And I thought, okay, I like those ones, so I will grow those again up in Wyoming. Angie says, I have 4 buttercup squash coming up right now. Buttercup squash is lovely. And I actually am going to grow some of that this summer too. And I'm excited to be home. I'm actually going to go up and see Angie this summer. On our way home, when we leave on Friday, we're going to stop and see both of Joe's boys. And so that's going to be fun. We'll spend a few hours in Phoenix and spend the night when we get up into Colorado at their house. And so it should be really fun. And the other fun part is I'm hoping that it all works out, that I get to see Steph by Denver. And so that's going to be fun. How much snow is up in Wyoming? Well, in the mountains, there's still snow. But from the pictures that I saw in the last few days, a lot of it is melted. There's a few areas that got snow again. I shouldn't say, it's not like no place didn't get snow again this week. But a lot of places, it is just like gone except for the big drifts. So that's kind of fun. I'm kind of excited about that. And it looks, so far, it looks like good weather all the way back home. And so that's always good. Sorry, I'm going to turn down my Facebook just because I don't want it beeping in while I'm doing stuff. And Joe and I started getting more things ready. We basically have everything boxed up. He knows what tools he's going to take back. I have all the art things that I am taking back ready. And then I'm going to have to see if I can stuff all that stuff in our truck. I am a good packer, though. But a lot of the plants, I showed some pictures to my members this morning on their member video of all the plants I was taking back. It's a lot of them. But, you know, there's always little spaces when you're packing that you can put a 6-pack of plants right there, or you can put a little pot of plants right there. And so I'm totally excited about that. We are going to be in Wyoming. We'll be back to our house Monday afternoon. So my plan is to have a Monday Night Live. They are turning our electricity is on all the time because we heat with electric, and then we didn't want anything to freeze in our house. They're turning our water on. The Spectrum will have that turned on Monday. And I'm supposed to pick up some onions. A bunch of us master gardeners, we go and we buy onions, live plants. They're usually about that big. And we buy them from Dixondale Farms in Texas. And a whole bunch of us went together. And so I am excited that I'm going to pick those up, and I'll plant them right away because they got them. By the time I get back, it'll be a week that they've been in the refrigerator. So I want to get those planted right away. So I'll soak them for a few hours, and then I'll plant them in one of my raised beds so that they can really start growing. You don't have any problems transporting plants across state borders. We don't. No, we're not going into California at all. California is really the tough one to do. But I have a nursery license, and so that always helps if anybody would stop and talk to us. But for the most part, it's sometimes harder to come into Arizona or into California than it is going out. But we won't have any problems at all. And so I'm totally excited about being home and getting that all started again, you know. Joe always says that we have summer and fall, summer and spring, summer and fall, summer and spring. Because even though between those two, when we are coming back and forth, we always run into some kind of snow, either before or after we leave or come back home. We'll get snow. Sometime we'll get snow. She travels back and forth to California. Yeah. Though, do you know that you can actually take plants on a plane? I was in Portland, Oregon one time, and I bought a tree from one of the college orchards, and I got to take it on the plane. You know, I didn't have to have any special paperwork. It was in a little pot, and it was about this tall. It was called the Empire apple. And it's one of, you know, unless they've changed that, because I did that a few years ago. I just had to set it between my feet when we were flying, and then I just got to carry it through the airport, which is kind of funny. But again, I didn't go into California. I probably couldn't have got it into California. So, you know, every state has its own stuff. But I've brought plants back and forth many times when we were going back to Wyoming or going to Arizona, and never have we had any problem. Oh, one of your favorite apples. I think it is an amazing apple. And the reason why I picked out that one at that orchard was because they don't let, at that orchard, it was attached to a college just outside of Portland. They didn't let their trees get very tall. And then some of them, there was a whole section of them that they weren't more than 3 and 4 feet tall. And they were old trees, and the branches were all gnarly, and they had these empire apples on there, and they're just so beautiful. Well, they were selling small apple trees that they had grafted onto rootstock, and so I had to buy one, of course. Steph, hello, how are ya? This is stuff that I was just talking about before, that we are trying to work it all out so I can stop and see her when we're in Colorado. Totally excited. And Wayne is here. Hello, Wayne. The Empire apple is from New York State, and it is a good apple. They make great applesauce. That I have not tried making applesauce with them. So that's interesting. Fun. I can't get my earbuds to work. I have these great earbuds that my son Steven, I think Angie has the same kind too. Man, they're so good. And they charge right in the case. You just pop them in there, and man, I just love them. So I like to listen to books on tape so I don't bother Joe. But I do not know how to do that. I could do it with my phone if I was watching a live on my phone, but I don't know how to connect them to my laptop. There's got to be a way, though, because it is Bluetooth both ways. And Teresa is here. Teresa, how are ya? So Thursday night, I'm actually going to pack everything into the truck, because then you have to decide, if I can't fit everything in there, what has to stay. But I am taking less home that I brought down, though more plants. So it's kind of a back and forth. So we will see. Sandy, is it hot there today? Yes. I think, well, right now it's 91. I think it got up to about 93, 94 degrees today. So hot, sunny, no wind. So that was kind of nice. Charmaine says, my son bought me mine because he didn't want me trying to answer the phone while I was driving when he calls. I use them for listening on podcasts and stuff, and for driving. Yeah, I think it's fabulous. In fact, I will take these so that I can listen to stuff while we're in the car while Joe's driving. We always have the rule that who's ever driving, they get control over the radio. And so Joe could be listening to something I don't want to listen to. So I got my earbuds, and I actually have 2 new books that I specifically got because I wanted them, but I wanted to be able to read them on my way home. One's on soil health. It's really interesting, written about 1930s, maybe 38, something like that. So that has been so interesting. In fact, I'm going to do some videos and adding some of their things to my soil after my soil test comes back. And I'm going to do some trials on this part of the bed has it, this part of the bed doesn't have it. And so I think it should be really interesting. Oh, Carol says it's 90 in Tucson. Yeah, see, pretty much the same as us. So it's interesting. Open settings, then Bluetooth finds your earbud and pairs. Okay, I will try that. And because I would like to, have my earbuds connected to my laptop too. And I figured there has to be a way. Everybody's saying hi. How long is your drive? It takes, by the time you stop, you get gas, you go to the bathroom, blah, blah, blah. Let the dogs go. Well, we only have 1 dog coming back with us now. It takes about 20 hours. And so, fine, coach. Yeah, Joe listens to rap. No, but sometimes he listens. I don't mind country at all. I don't like that whining country. And sometimes he's on the station and it's just like, yeah, I don't want to listen to that. And in fact, speaking of pairing, my dad wants me to pair my mom's phone which he never uses, to his truck. So I'm going to, after my live, I'm going to go over and do that because it shouldn't take too long. I hope so. Charmaine says that she tried that. I don't know. I'm going to play with it for a while because there's got to be a way to pair it to my laptop, because I'm sure people do it. And I mean, I've had this computer for 3 years. So I think it should be new enough to be able to do that, you know. So I'll play with it. I'll actually probably look at and see if there's any YouTube videos on how to do it based on my laptop. And so, you know, that'll be good. Okay. Charmaine, make sure it isn't trying to pair to something else. Okay, that's good to know. That's right, Wayne. Happy trails to you. And I have actually been ready to go back to Wyoming for, you know, psychologically, really for probably 3 weeks. Oh, man, you are old. Are you talking about me, Ange? That's true. I am very old. And in fact, Joe said yesterday we should have went back a week ago. It had turned hot, and we could have. You know, I just wanted to stay for Dad's birthday. My dad turns 92 on Wednesday, and then they started talking about leaving before his birthday. And I said, Dad, I stayed because I wanted to be here on your birthday. So they're not leaving till Thursday. We're leaving on Friday. Usually we take basically the same route, but we're going to see Jason and Jordan, so they're going a different way. Because if you go up through Salt Lake City and then over, it saves you a little bit of time. But we want to visit people, so it's okay. And we don't actually have to be any place on a certain day other than my water and stuff is getting turned on. You pair your earbuds to your computer the same as to your phone. Oh, well, I'm going to try it again because when I tried it before, I couldn't get it to work. So I'll play with it, Ange. Yeah, and we pulled up everything in the garden. I was very sad. Saved a bunch of tomatoes, onions, green onions, all kinds of stuff. I made all kinds of soup. I shared it with the neighbors. I still have a whole bowl full of tomatoes. I gave a whole bunch of onions to one of our neighbors. I think I'm going to have to end up giving those tomatoes all away too, because there's just not enough days to get everything done. And so I'm just going to have to do that. And my projects for Wyoming. I had talked about this a long, long time ago when I was trying to figure out some goals, homesteading goals. I'm going to make a chicken tractor. So if any of you have made chicken tractors, and you guys that have actually YouTube videos, let me know, and I'll go onto your YouTube channel and I'll find that video and I'll watch that. If I am on my phone and have my iPad open too, the AirPods bounce back and forth and I have to turn the Bluetooth off on one. Interesting. That's good to know. So I will remember that, to turn the Bluetooth off of because I always have my Bluetooth on my phone. It's always turned on. So maybe that was the problem. So I'll make sure I do that and see what happens, you know. I mean, serious. I'll just see what happens. But so chicken tractor, we're going to put a different fence and a top to the chicken coop. Not that, you know, though the birds can fly out. Sometimes I clip their wings so they don't. But the problem is the little birds, you know, the native birds that want to fly in and they want to eat the chicken feed. And so I have to do that. And one of my other goals for back there is to add more on my food forest. On my food forest right now on the hillside, it has apple trees and nut trees. It has some berry bushes that I've added. But one of the things I want to add is the very low story area, like a lot of the apple trees have garlic that grow around it. And I don't usually pull up that garlic. So it just automatically just comes back after every year because it helps with aphids. But I have a huge area that my strawberries grow, and it is way too thick with strawberry plants. So I think I'm going to dig up some of those strawberries and put those around some of the fruit trees so that it will just have another layer right in there. The other thing is I'm going to have a lot of berries, and then I have a lot of chokecherries. And the chokecherry bushes are way too tall. So I'm going to cut those all down and just really fix that so that it's a little more manageable. Angie says that she is heading out. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks, Angie, for stopping by. And so that's just one of the things to do. One of my other ones, I'm looking on my list over here. Our friends will give us the chickens, and they're also going to give us some rabbits so that I can have the rabbit poo for my gardens. And so I'm going to remake some cages. I have some stuff that we've used before, but I'm going to remake them. I'm going to terrace a little bit more in my front yard. And I'm going to use the greenhouse the whole summer. When I moved my art studio into the big shed, a lot of the stuff that I couldn't find places in the house, I just basically stuffed in the greenhouse. And I didn't really use my greenhouse anywhere to the full potential that it could get used. And so one of my first things is really just cleaning out that greenhouse, deciding what I'm going to grow in there, start a bunch of my seedlings in there. And Anne, thank you very much. Always give me a thumbs up. That helps with my analytics, so I appreciate that. Send strawberries to me, please. I'm making my green stock of just strawberries. Charmaine, I can send them to you. Send me an email to remind me, because it'll be crazy when I first get home. And I'll write it down. I'm writing it down right now. But if you remind me in an email, that would be awesome. And I got your address, of course. Okay. I got it written down. Because they're just like so tightly packed in there. I can't hardly walk to pick the strawberries. Now they really like the place that they're at. I mean, those plants are easily 8-9 inches tall. And then the strawberries are hidden underneath those great big leaves. But it is too crowded, and I really need to thin it out. So I'll send some to Charmaine, and I will plant those around some of the trees. And, of course, I'm going to plant a few of these trees that you see behind me. Oh, yeah, it's a terrible problem to have. Just terrible. And so a few of these I'm going to plant. The rest of them I'm putting in buckets, which Craig got me a bunch of buckets and for free. And so I'm going to pick those up over in Rapid City because I'm going to go over to see the grandkids anyway. And so that will be very exciting, and I don't I do have a lot of buckets, plant buckets, but these ones are food safe ones that a restaurant had. And so I'll just do some drainage holes in there, and they're just really heavy duty. And so that will work really good. I don't think it will cost hardly anything for the shipping. So I don't worry about it at all. Well, hello, Sarah. Oh, and Sarah says hi, but she's busy dunking in snow crab for our birthday dinner. Well, happy birthday. How exciting. Yeah, Joe, he likes snow crab and king crab. Yeah, he likes it. I haven't fixed that for him for a while, so when we get home, I'll have to do that. The prices had gone so high for a while. It was just like, yeah, I'm not paying that much money for that. But I did see that the prices had gone down some, so I will have to do that. Strawberries from stores have been hit and miss, mostly miss. I know. The difference in taste between a strawberry from the store and a strawberry from your garden is just like night and day. And I just love going into my garden and just eating strawberries continuously. Um, um, Xander, is it both yours and Sarah's birthday, or just one of you? So let me know. And my good friend at His Way Homestead, I was hoping that Doug would stop in, but he must be busy. He did have a doctor's thing, but everything was good today, so I was happy about that, to hear that. And the Vineyard Chicks do have a live in 35 minutes. And the Vineyard Chicks, if you don't know them, they're just spectacular. And so I hope you stop in. If you do, tell them that I sent you over there. Oh, good. People are saying happy birthday. Awesome. Can you grow strawberries from the store ones, or do they spray them with inhibitors? For the most part, you can get some of those seeds to grow, just depending on where you live. Because strawberries, different varieties are made to grow different places. Like the strawberries I grow can withstand the really cold winters that we have. They die back, and then I got straw on top of them, and they can survive that 40 below zero, where the ones at the store may not be a variety that can withstand your winters. So it's not like you can't grow them. My brother's trick on that is to take some of the strawberries, and he does it with other berries too. He puts a little bit of water in the blender with them, and he just blends it up really fast for just a few seconds, chops it all up, right? And then he just strains it, and then he gets all the pulp stuff out, and you get all these seeds. And that's how he does it all the time. And I've done that several times, and it works real good. Carol, do you grow strawberries? Because my situation of bouncing back and forth, I have planted anything except I have planted anything except cactus. Yeah, it just depends on the strawberries. I have strawberries growing out here in Arizona. I have a tough time with strawberries down here. It just gets too hot. And I mean, I have them under a citrus tree, and Dad has them under the citrus tree, but really every time you come back, you have less of them. It just gets too hot. And maybe there's some other varieties, but I mean, I've tried lots of varieties down here, and I just can't get them to do it. So this chicken tractor is a movable chicken house so that you can contain yet able to free range the bugs and worms. Yet, see, that's what I want to do, is I want it to be able that I can move it different places in my grass. And I have this gooseberry plant that's by the chicken coop. And the last few years, now it doesn't affect the gooseberries at all, but these little worms, which are not native to the United States, all of a sudden they're there, and they're eating every leaf that's on the plant. They don't bother the fruit at all. So and I usually just pick them up and throw them in, and the chickens eat them. So what I've decided is when I see them, I'm going to just make a little chicken wire thing that I'll open the door to the chicken coop, and they can come around and they can just eat all those little worms they want to. We'll see how that works. Who tends your garden when you're gone? Actually, we put it to bed before we leave. We mulch things that need to be mulched. I use a lot of leaf mulch, straw, hay once in a while if I can't find straw. And we turn the water off. And so I rarely lose a plant. The hardest thing on trees where I live is cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot in the wintertime. Because you have these stretches, what they call Indian summer back home, and it's really nice and everybody enjoys it. But then all of a sudden it's back to 20 below zero. That is really tough on a tree. And so a few years, it has just like went through the whole town and killed all kinds of trees. And so that's just one of those things. But for the most part, I mean, our neighbors keep an eye on it, but I don't actually have, if they see something, then I might have them go into the yard, but for the most part, it's just on its own. I do everything I can, with the mulching, watering really well before we leave, all that kind of stuff. And we just hope for the best, and best yet journey. Hello. How are you, young lady? Thanks for stopping in. Have you seen any prickly pear cactus in Wyoming prairie? Yes. Yeah, lots of times. Might be nice addition for jelly. I know it. I have often thought that. And because they make prickly pear jelly down here all the time. You can buy it in the stores. You can buy it at the farmers markets. And I actually have some recipes for it. So it's one of those things I should just make. Because I've talked about this, the different fun jellies I'm making when I get home. Dandelion, lilac, different ones. I have a whole list of jellies that I'm going to do. And I'm actually going to make some jelly from the very new tips of a spruce tree. And so, it is yummy. Prickly pear jelly is yum. That's true. Sandi, you can make anything, girl. Well, I can try, Sometimes it's a failure and you have to think, okay, is this just not something I can grow here? Or do I got to change things? Do I have to adapt? Do I have to find a different place in my yard for it? Because sometimes it's just a matter of finding the microclimate, just because we have such cold weather in the wintertime. I make prickly pear jelly and margaritas. Awesome. One of the things I'm going to sell because I'm going to do a few farmers markets, because I want to sell my garlic when it gets ready and some things like that, different things I want to sell. And I haven't done the farmers markets for a while. I mean, last year I did one, maybe two farmers markets, but I used to do the markets every Saturday for lots and lots of years. And then I was just busy and I was tired and I just didn't do it. But there's some things I want to sell, and I want to sell some of my fused glass artwork jewelry. And so I'm going to do that. But I am going to make, and I'll do some videos on this, on salts, that you put on the rim of different drinks. Well, there's a lot of sugars that you can do on the rims of drinks too. It doesn't necessarily have to be an alcohol drink to add those. And there's some good recipes I have that I'm going to do some videos. And I haven't done a video on those rim sugars and salts. And so I'm going to do some videos on that. And I'm going to sell those at the market. Do you ever make tea from chicken droppings? I don't usually. The reason, Teresa, that I don't do that is because it's kind of precarious. If you have too much of the chicken droppings, even though you're adding water to it to make that manure tea, it can be too hot for some plants. And if you don't dilute it enough, it can actually harm your plants. Where the rabbit manure tea that I do all the time, it is just, you don't have to worry about it. It's never going to be too hot, where the chicken droppings could be too hot. It's like if you added too much chicken droppings to your compost pile and you didn't leave your compost pile long enough, it could actually burn your plants when you put it around your plants. So you just have to be careful. It's just one of those things that are very hot. So if you can let those chicken droppings sit for a year and then make it, then you're better off. And the vineyard chicks are here. Your apple trees look great. Thank you. I was talking about you just a little bit ago, saying that you had a live stream now in 25 minutes. Awesome. Best yet journey. Now we're talking. And so it's interesting with your garden, how there are a lot of good things you can add to your garden. You just have to be aware not to add too much. It's like compost. For some people, compost is the end all of everything. If you don't know what's wrong with your plant, you add compost. Well, that's just really not true. In fact, adding too much compost can be hard on plants. And you think that, it's grew really good for 2 years, and now it's not growing as good. I need to add more compost. Well, you might, but you better be doing a soil test to see if maybe it's just one of the micro nutrients, one of those minerals that you're missing, and that can fix it. So it's a whole balance when it comes to making your garden great. And so, Joe is in the house. Joe saying hi to everybody. Hi, Joe. He says hi to me. He's supposed to type it. He's supposed to say, right now it's iffy. Is not a direct drop. Thank you for the great information. You just have to be careful because chicken is really good. Their droppings are really good for the garden. You just have to make sure that they have had enough time so they're not quite so hot. Like if you're going to build a compost pile and you're actually not going to use that compost pile for a year or two, not a problem at all. Just don't use it too soon and have that hot and kill your plants. A lot of times I tell people that if you're going to put that into your soil, put it in on the fall after you've already pulled your plants all out, in your garden. And then it has all winter to just settle in and not be too hot. It's got all the snow or the rain filtering through it, and it will be much better. The girls do have have a new logo, still cute. Oh, those girls, I tell ya. She's talking about the Vineyard Chicks. Just checking the sound and wanted to hang out with you. Oh, girls, I love you. See, Joe, people are saying hi to you. 6 months to a year for chicken droppings. That's really a good, rule of thumb. And if it's a lot of chicken droppings compared to everything else, I always think you should wait a little bit longer, But if you can, spread it out over, not too thick, and they're all winter long. For the most part, it's been pretty safe. But just be careful, because you just don't want to go through the time and expense of maybe you're doing your seedlings yourself, or you're buying them. And the price of seedlings right now are craziness. $5 for a pepper plant or a tomato plant. It's just wrong. Sorry, it's just wrong. Seriously. And people are buying them. I wouldn't do it. Seriously, I would not pay that much money for it. So, KK thinks we are getting too old for the old logo. Well, that's probably true. You girls are growing up. I think that's probably true. It's good to have new logos every so often. I got my one up in the corner right there. And then I have my other one that Trey made for me. Let me find it and let me switch it over, because we can go to this one. This is one that Trey made for me. So I've been switching it back and forth lately. So that's kind of fun. Time does fly, all of a sudden it's like you got these young women that are almost to adulthood, and it's interesting how fast life goes. But now I'm just speaking of how fast things go. I'm looking and we're at 39 minutes. I'm going to have to let you guys go. Now remember, Friday night, I do not have a live stream scheduled because we will be traveling. Now I might do a pop-up live wherever we stop, but I don't want to have one and think, I have to be, do a certain time. When you're traveling, you just don't want to do that. I will do my live next week because we will be home in the afternoon and everything is supposed to be on. So as long as everything looks good, yay. And I will be back in Wyoming. And so I'm totally excited about that. But thank you so much for the safe travel wishes. I have some videos coming out this week, and I will see you next week for Monday Night Live. Everybody, thanks so much. And Joe and I will be on the road. Bye, everybody.